out with a whimper. This $1.7 million sci-fi action film was led by returning director J. Lee Thompson and released on June 15, 1973, earning back around $7 million at the box office. Don't be misled by Battle's cool movie poster though, the 93-minute film was never that exciting. And how can it be? It's rated G. 10 years after the uprising scene in Conquest, ape leader Caesar wants both species to live in peace, but militant interest on both sides threatened the stability. When the Apes franchise began only 6 years earlier, no one could have guessed the timid little scientist with a British accent will go on to be the figurehead of the entire franchise. And yet that's exactly the mantle Roddy McDowall took up. He returns here for his fourth and final appearance as the pragmatic Caesar. By this point he's got the monkey mannerisms locked in, but the real benefit of his continued presence is just having a familiar face to root for, as mostly all other characters have been swapped out with analogs or replacements.
We're not your equals.
MacDonald, I believe that when you truly grow to know and trust a person, you cannot help but like him. Now, when we grow to know and trust your people, then we shall all be equals and remain so until the end of the world.
Which may be sooner than you think.
You are such a pessimist.
Or a prophet.
Well, now that apes are at the helm, Earth will sail safely through space until the end of time. And Virgil says, time has no end. So you see, I cannot believe you.
Natalie Trundy and Severn Darden both reprised their characters from Conquest, but they were tertiary players in that film at best. And while I appreciate seeing some of these returning characters, the timeline of this fifth movie just doesn't make any sense to allow it. It purports that all apes gain the intellectual capacity for speech and reason in a single generation, which runs in direct contradiction to the centuries of evolution explanation that was provided in the third film. In the original, Charlton Heston accidentally found himself 2,000 years in the future, when it seems he could have just traveled to 2012 and achieved the same result. Notable newcomers to the cast include Paul Williams as a wise orangutan teacher who answers a riddle by stating, "All knowledge is for good, only the use to which you put it can be good or evil." And cinema legend John Huston as the mythical lawgiver ape, who bookends the movie by sharing its events in a flashback story. Hampered yet again by budget limitations, the titular events play out on a decidedly small scale in the nondescript setting of Malibu State Park, and what was once Academy Award-winning makeup now look like stiff rubber masks. Seeing the early beginnings of ape society, and the ending of man's, is reasonably interesting, but it's a curiosity that wears off quickly. When my father first showed me the Planet of the Apes films as a kid, we stopped at Escape. I don't know why, but I just never bothered to watch the final two installments until a couple weeks ago when I began preparing for these reviews. And while neither Conquest nor Battle are bad films, they're largely forgettable and uninteresting. They exist only to fill in the story we're already familiar with. We know what will happen and even how it will happen. This is merely an exercise in completion, and to fulfill the series' desire to come full circle with its dystopian roots. And while these two films are not without purpose, the story in each is thin enough that combining them into one bigger movie probably would have been best. I imagine when you create 5 movies in 6 years you start to get a little punch drunk though. Perhaps the most impressive accomplishment of the sequels is convincing audiences to root against their own self-interest, namely mankind itself. In the first film we wanted humans to overthrow the apes, and now we're cheering on the apes to defeat the humans. Enjoyable for fans of the franchise, Battle for the Planet of the Apes isn't interesting or necessary enough to really recommend otherwise. I thought it was alright. That does it for this quick excerpt, but if you'd like to watch more Movie Night, click or tap the thumbnails on the left. And don't forget to visit the Jogwheel YouTube channel to see full episodes of this show, in addition to the other content I produce. My name is Jonathan Paula, thanks for watching, and have a good movie night.